Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much indeed for joining me here on another video. Today's topic of conversation is really around a couple of lessons that I got when I was climbing Kilimanjaro. And for those of you that don't know, I climbed Kilimanjaro in January 2015. And to be honest with you, it was one of the most traumatic and stressful things that I think I've ever done and ever subjected myself to. But it was quite an achievement. And really and truthfully, there are two big lessons that I took away from that event. And the first is when you're climbing Kilimanjaro, again, for those of you that aren't aware, you'll usually travel with some guides, hopefully, because they know the routes and they're going to show you what's going on. And the guides say to you continuously a phrase which is pole pole. And that means slowly, slowly, because you're starting out on a 5 or 6 day hike. And for most people, that's a pretty strenuous effort to do if you're not fully trained for it. So the recommendation is pole pole, which is slowly, slowly, which means one foot in front of the other, gently, gently, and you'll eventually get to the top. And what I saw starting out is that when you're climbing Kilimanjaro to begin with, you're starting out in sort of 24, 25 degree heat, and by the time you get to the top, it's minus 15. So you've got to pack clothes for all those different weather conditions, and it's really hot and sunny at the start, and it's quite gentle. So a lot of people tear off very, very quickly. And a couple of the guys that were with us when we were climbing, I said to them, guys, slow it down a little, because this really is a marathon, not a sprint. You know, you're talking about a 5 day hike up to the top, and that requires quite a lot of endurance and preservation of energy more so than anything. So that was definitely the first thing, slowly, slowly, and really in pursuit of a big goal that you're trying to achieve, slowly, slowly can sometimes be the best way to achieve that, by putting that constant effort in every single day. You're going to get to where you need to be. And the second learning was the reason why it was so traumatic. At the beginning of the third day of climbing Kilimanjaro, about an hour into the walk, I started to feel I'd got quite a bad headache, and I thought, well, I'm obviously dehydrated, I haven't been drinking enough, it's quite physical. So I started drinking a lot more water, and as the hours progressed, this mild headache turned into possibly the worst headache I've ever had, then leading to, literally by the time we got to about midday, I was in what I can only describe as the worst hangover I've ever had. It was horrendous. My head was pounding, I felt constantly sick, and this is when I realized that it was altitude sickness. And I didn't really want to take anything for it. In fact, I hadn't got anything for it. But by the end of the third day, when we got back to the tent, we'd endured hailstorms, and it was really starting to get a lot colder. We were getting closer towards the summit of the mountain. And as we got towards the camp on the end of the third day, I was literally shaking. I was a complete wreck. I had to get into the tent as quickly as possible and pass out, because I just felt awful. And I woke up about an hour or so later, and I talked to the group that I was with, and they said, how are you feeling? I said, look, guys, it's very simple. I'm going to the top of that mountain, or I'm going to die trying. And this isn't, me coming across with a huge amount of bravado here and saying, if you do whatever you want, you can do it, as long as you're willing to commit 100%. That's not really where I'm coming from. But for me, it was a single-mindedness to say, I am literally going to the top of that mountain, and I was serious about it. And I endured, rightly or wrongly, 2 days of probably the worst feeling I've ever experienced in my body, constantly feeling sick, constantly feeling this pounding headache. But what was interesting, when I got to the top of the mountain and we successfully summited, all of a sudden we started to come, obviously you turn around and you start to come back down, and it's important to get off the top of the mountain as quickly as possible, because it's very cold and the air's very thin. But just that shift in mindset that we were on the way down started to clear up the symptoms quite quickly. So whether the altitude was partly psychological or what, I'm not sure, but certainly I know it was one of the worst feelings I've ever had. But definitely I do want to say that, if you are committed to a goal or a dream or a vision that you've got, by taking that continual effort towards it and being single-minded in your commitment, I think so many times we either sell ourselves too short, or we can fundamentally get distracted by something else that's going on in our life, and we don't give the opportunity in front of us the best possible chance of being successful. So hope that's some useful learnings and some lessons there. It was certainly also very interesting learning what it's like to go for an entire week without a shower, but we won't go into that. That's not for today's video. But those are my top tips for life, and also climbing Kilimanjaro, if that's something you're interested in doing in the future. So thanks for joining me, guys, and look forward to catching you on another video very soon. Take care.